Hi everyone, my name is Alan. I was diagnosed with a slight form of autism a long time ago. But I don't know what it means, because I'm fine. I will tell you how I built my ideal world to live in. It turned out to be easier than I thought it would be. Honestly, I don't see any deviations or whatever they say behind me. I have a great vocabulary, I read a lot of books, though I don't really like talking to people. I have the highest grades in my studies. My dad hired a tutor at home and he worked with me. But we sat in different rooms and watched everything on a big screen. I was uncomfortable at the thought of him being around. The only friend I had was my father. He was the only one I could get along with and talk to, though not much either. Where is my mother? I have no idea. Only once I heard that she ran away, and there were no more questions. My dad works a lot. We're rich. I don't see that as a big deal. Unless they buy me whatever I want. But I get used to new things very slowly, which is why I have in my room all the toys from childhood are still there, and even some furniture and clothes. I ate the same thing too: eggs and bacon for breakfast, chicken soup for lunch, and grilled vegetables and meat for dinner. Dad knew about it and didn't even question it. But one day, life began to change, and I, as you might have realized, don't like new things. 3 of our maids quit at once. The old ones already knew how to behave. We hardly ever saw each other, and if we did, I would leave or they would leave, so we wouldn't even cross paths at different ends of the hallway. So, we quickly looked for new ones, and we found one. Her name was Mary. Dad came into my room and sat across from me. I was playing with Lego. Hi, Dad.
Hi, son. How are you doing? Do you play with Lego?
Yeah, I like Lego. Alan loves Lego and Lego loves Alan.
Do you want me to get you some more pieces?
Yes, bye. I want more, lots of them.
Yeah, soon you won't have room in your room for Lego.
I will.
All right, son, I'll buy you the same old Lego.
Okay.
Son, there's something I need to tell you.
What is it? I was building Lego houses and I didn't even look my father in the eye. I didn't like to do that with anybody.
We got a housekeeper. Her name is Mary. I know you don't like new people, just so you know, and don't get scared if you see.
New. I don't like new things. Alan does not like new.
She's not dangerous. Mary knows your boundaries and she promised not to break them.
Why did you bring her?
We need help around the house. She's going to do the cooking.
Scrambled eggs, soup and?
Grilled meat, I remember. And I'll ask her to cook just like she used to.
Okay, Dad. He was worried, and I could feel his excitement. It made me uncomfortable. Dad left for work. I stayed behind to keep building Legos. Then it was time for breakfast. I went out to the kitchen, as usual. There used to be a breakfast stand there at 8:30, no earlier, no later. I was never late, but as I walked into the dining room, I noticed a girl standing there. She is setting the table. I froze at the door with discomfort. Good morning. Come on in. I already poured your tea. I felt so sick, I mumbled, looking at the floor, that I wasn't drinking tea, I was drinking water. She poured the water and pushed the chair aside. I wanted to eat, so I sat down there, but she wouldn't leave, circling me, serving me a fork, a knife, bread. Man, I was starting to get really nervous. I didn't finish my breakfast. I just got up and ran out and texted my dad to hurry up and buy Lego. And he brought it to me. I was sitting there all nervous when my dad came into the room with 3 big boxes of Legos. They were the same, exactly the same as the ones I had. I immediately started building more houses with them. There were already dozens of assembled houses in my big room. My dad praised me, kissed me, and went back to work, and I stayed home. After a while, Mary knocked on my room and came in without permission. I lowered my eyes to the floor again and she started babbling non-stop. What do you want? Just to clean the place up a little, dust it off. You can stay here, or you can go to the other room. You don't have to clean here, I told you. All right, I'll just do a little. I left the room in silence, went to my father's room, sat there reading. I was gone for an hour. I went back to my room and I was horrified to see that it was just a mess. Everything was out of place, everything has been rearranged, and something is no longer there. What have you done? Why? Cleaned up. Why? What's wrong? Tell me what's wrong. I'll redo it. It's all wrong here. I don't like it. My boundaries. You violated them. Why did you do that? I was so angry. I started calling my daddy and cursing. He flew in from work and calmed me down, and then he promised to talk to Mary. I knew I couldn't see her anymore. While Dad was at his place, I took the most precious things and started dragging them to the woods near the house. I had always liked it, so I found a nice quiet spot and started building a Lego house there. When I ran out of parts, I would go back to the room and get more. Now I was in the room less often. Only on the second day, I realized that I had already dragged everything and I was out of Legos. I wanted to ask my father to buy more, so I went to his office. I went in without knocking, as usual, and saw Mary there. They were standing there kissing. I was disgusted. I was angry with my father. It was like a betrayal of me. How could he even do that? I quickly turned around and ran out of the house. Dad shouted my name and ran after me, but I was faster than him. I found my house, the woods, and hid in it. I sat inside and was sure that he wouldn't find me, that no one would find me at all now. But after about 15 minutes, my father showed up. He cautiously climbed inside and sat by the exit.
What a house you built out of Lego, it's as big as our house.
It's just an ordinary house, nothing special.
How many Lego parts did you use?
1,300,674 pieces.
How many blue ones? How many red ones?
650,000 red, 650,674 blue.
Your house is very big and bright, and you can see it all over the forest.
I didn't want it to be conspicuous, I just wanted
you to have your own space.
Yeah, where you don't have to clean. Where there's no Mary.
I'm sorry for what you saw.
Do you love her?
No, I don't. I like her, I really do, but I didn't want you to find out about it.
If you marry her, you'll leave me.
What? Who told you that?
That's what grown-ups do. My mom, she fell in love with someone and left me. She left me and she didn't even call me.
Okay, son. Let me hug you. First of all, I'm not your mother, I'm your father, and I have no intention of leaving you. You're my son and I love you. Second of all, I'm not going to get married yet. I like Mary, but it's too soon to think about getting married.
You just want her for fun?
What? How do you know about that?
Well, you like having someone clean your room. It makes you feel good, and Mary likes to clean rooms.
Oh, you mean that? Yeah, you're right. But I asked her not to touch your room anymore and another maid will cook for you. Just the way you like it.
Breakfast scrambled eggs and bacon, lunch chicken soup, and for dinner?
Grilled meat and vegetables for dinner. I remember.
Okay, Dad, I got it. I won't sneak out again.
Let's go home, huh?
Yeah. We went to the house. And my huge Lego house we decided not to demolish. Then Dad said that this house could collapse, so he fixed it with something on the inside. I also heard that there was a news story about him. Like, the austere guy built the biggest house out of Lego. I don't know if that's good or bad and what that even means, but I didn't care. My dad bought more Lego boxes, and I started building new houses, only smaller ones in my room. I wanted them to be everywhere. Only with Lego, I felt better and more talkative than usual. My dad says it's the only thing that gives me pleasure. And I don't know for sure yet. I also like ice cream. Well, as for Mary, she's been trying to keep out of my sight. I don't know how she and Dad were doing, how often she cleaned his room, but she never went into mine again. She didn't understand my world, and she didn't understand anybody's world. So if you don't want to end up on the autism blacklist, don't overstep his bounds.
Hi, my name is Reggie. Want to hear a story about how to make money? Well, then look here. Guys, do not forget to put likes, subscribe to the channel, and comment on my story. To begin with, please tell me, at what age did you first start earning money? How much and where? My beginning of the story is a bit sad, but that's what prompted me to pull myself together and start acting, so listen up. I was born into a full family. I have a mother and 3 sisters, and my father was there until he went out the door for bread. We haven't seen him since. Well, about everything by the Strand. As you have already understood, we are a large family. I am the oldest child in the family. My parents wanted to give birth to a girl for complete happiness. My mother could not get pregnant for a long time. The dream of a girl haunted me. My mother cried at night. I heard her praying that heaven would send her another child. Her age was no longer young, and yet she got pregnant. It was a great holiday for us. My father came home early from work when my mother told him the news. I was about 15 years old at the time. Everything was great, and then suddenly changed. When my mother went for the first ultrasound, what they were told shocked both of them. "You have triplets," the doctor said. My father could not believe it. My mother was crying, but these were tears of happiness. And when she gave birth, I remember running around the hospital looking for food for my mother. I couldn't wait to see my little sisters. The status of an older brother attracted me. And so, 3 beautiful girls were born: Eileen, Leah, and Mia. They were a copy of their father. At first, Dad was beside himself with happiness, but after a week, he realized how hard children are given. In addition to the fact that he began to shirk from helping my mother, he also quietly dumped all the responsibilities of the house on me. I even learned how to cook, clean, wash, and iron. It was terribly hard for me. I didn't get enough sleep. I didn't have time to do any homework. My mother saw it. She was grateful, but it was still harder for her. And then it turned out that it was hard for my father. He could not stand it, and his words about the girls being the biggest reward disappeared somewhere. My father went out to get some bread and didn't come back. We realized this almost immediately when we looked at the table. There were 3 bags of bread. My mother was upset, and then desperate. I couldn't watch her suffer, so I started helping her with the girls. Sometimes he could even put them to sleep so that Mom could get some sleep. Did I think I'd quit too? Because that's not what real men do. In the end, the money began to run out, and my mother was even more panicked. We were wondering how we should live, and I promised my mother that I would take care of her. After school, I also began to work as a waiter. In the summer, I washed cars, walked dogs, cleaned swimming pools and gardens at neighbors. In winter, I cleaned snow. In autumn and spring, yards from debris and leaves. I didn't get paid to say that a lot, but with a good economy, we have enough for bills, food, and diapers. My mother thanked me every day for everything, but how could I not? To be honest, the first couple of months were still normal, but then it became very difficult. I remember that I started exams at school, and because of frequent absences, I still had to take individual subjects. There was a complete blockage at school, and a lot of problems at work. I accidentally broke 23 plates in a cafe, spilled hot coffee on a visitor, and gave the wrong change. I was deprived of my salary for a whole week. I came home and found out that the girls were sick. I didn't have the money to buy medicine. I didn't even know how to get out of it now, because it was the end. My mother came to me all tearful. She felt sorry for me, but I wanted to stay strong in her eyes. I kissed her and went outside. I didn't know where to go or what to do, and I didn't want anything. I was desperate like my mom. When I crossed the road, I didn't pay attention to the traffic light. I was hit by a car. Oh no, not much. I got off with a couple of bruises because the speed was slow. The woman who came out of there in a panic began to walk around me. It turned out to be the owner of the institution where I worked. I met her at the hospital. Mrs. Viggins was very nice, unlike our receptionist. She called my mother and promised to bring me home, reassured her, explaining that nothing terrible had happened to me. My mother wanted to come, but with 3 children in her arms, it was difficult, so I asked her to stay at home. I told Mrs. Viggins about our situation, and she was impressed and even cried. I have long wanted to fire the administrator. I heard rumors that he steals the cash register, and also steals broken dishes on young waiters like you, and then in this way launders money for supposedly new plates, she said. It was only at that moment that I suddenly realized that I hadn't seen how many plates I had broken or whether it was me, because I was carrying an order when I heard the clatter of dishes behind me. Mrs. Viggins brought me home, left a tidy sum for my recovery and for the girls, and the very next day I came to work for the proceedings. She was right. It turns out that while no one was watching, she set up a camera where you can see how I turn away to carry the order, and at this moment the administrator pulls out a tray with shards and pushes it to the floor, and then pretends that it was me. He asked not to go to the police and return all the loot, but the owner did not forgive him and still called the police. She appointed me to take his place, and promised me a promotion. I agreed to start work in a week to close the tales of my studies. Over time, everything improved. My mother couldn't express her gratitude, and I knew how embarrassed she was, but I did it from the heart, and I knew I was doing it right. In the end, I passed all the exams, not perfectly, but it will go. And then I came to the cafe. Mrs. Viggins was waiting for me, and I was glad of it. Almost immediately, I started a new position, began to receive even more money. So a few years passed, the girls grew up, and my mother was looking for a nanny to go to work herself. I was supposed to be going to college by then, and Mrs. Viggins offered me a great option. She promised to pay for half of my studies if I stayed to help her with her business. She had no children and no family, and she liked me, so I gladly agreed. Undoubtedly, everyone has hard times. But the main thing to remember is that all the best is always waiting ahead. What do you guys think?